Imagine a world where a single smile could be considered a threat to the state, where courtiers walked the palace halls with stone-cold faces, not out of fear of the gods, but of a woman so powerful, so feared, that even happiness needed her permission. That woman was Empress Wu Zetian, China's only female emperor. And yes, she did effectively outlaw smiling in her imperial court. Wu Zetian wasn't born with a crown. She was born in 624 CE to a wealthy family during the Tang Dynasty. Her intelligence stood out early on. She could read and write Chinese classics, a rare skill for women at the time. At just 14, she entered Emperor Taizong's palace as a concubine, not yet knowing that her journey would eclipse every man who dared stand in her way. When Emperor Taizong died, Wu was supposed to live out the rest of her life in a convent, as was the custom. But no, she had other plans. Through cunning and calculation, she returned to court and captured the heart of Taizong's son, Emperor Gaozong. Soon she rose to power again, first as his concubine, then his wife, and eventually his shadow ruler. But her real reign began after Gaozong's death. She didn't rule through a male heir like most imperial women. She declared herself emperor in 690. Not empress, emperor. This was unheard of in Confucian China, where women were expected to be silent, obedient, and invisible. Wu Zetian shattered every glass ceiling before the term even existed. With her grip on the throne secured, Wu turned her court into a fortress of order, efficiency, and fear. Her laws were strict, her punishments swift. Courtiers were forbidden to display levity or laugh in the presence of the empress. Why? Because smiling could imply arrogance, conspiratorial camaraderie, or a lack of seriousness in the service of the state. Wu wanted loyalty, not levity, discipline, not distraction. The ban on smiling wasn't just about control, it was a survival tactic. Wu faced relentless opposition from Confucian scholars, political rivals, and even her own family. Paranoia ran deep. She created a vast network of secret police and informants. Whisper the wrong word, smirk at the wrong moment, and you might disappear. Literally. Harsh? Definitely. But this iron grip came with results. Wu elevated merit over birthright. She promoted scholars based on talent, not lineage, opening the civil service exams to more people, even those from humble origins. She sponsored irrigation projects, expanded the empire's borders, and strengthened the economy. The empire thrived under her rule, but the palace lived in fear. Even the language of court changed. Poetry became darker. Expressions of joy were masked behind flowery metaphors. Portraits of the time show officials with solemn faces, their eyes betraying nothing. They weren't just following the rules, they were surviving. Wu's reign lasted 15 years as emperor, and nearly half a century in total when counting her time as Gaozong's consort and regent. When she finally died in 705, she left behind a legacy as complex as it was terrifying. She was a woman who clawed her way to the top of a patriarchal empire and held on to power with both brilliance and brutality. So did Wu Zetian really outlaw smiling? Not officially in writing, perhaps, but in practice, absolutely. Smiling in her court could be seen as a challenge to her authority, and in a world where one wrong glance could lead to exile or execution, keeping a straight face wasn't just wise, it was essential. History remembers her as a tyrant by some, a visionary by others. But there's no denying, she was the queen who made the entire empire hold its breath and its smile.